Hi you guys, it's Kim with Let Them Eat Gluten-Free Cake. Today I'm going to teach you how to make my gluten-free pie crust. It is the flakiest pie crust you'll ever have. Nobody will know it's gluten-free and it is so simple to make. So let's get started.
Okay, I begin by putting my gluten-free flour blend into my food processor. You can use a large bowl if you'd prefer. I just like using my food processor. And here I'm going to add salt. And I'm just going to pulse it a couple of times just to get it incorporated. Okay, just pulse just like 2 or 3 times, just until it's well mixed. Now I'm going to add the butter in, and you'll see that it's in very large chunks. You want those large chunks because they will break down to smaller bits. You don't want them like pulverized completely. So start it up and pulse it about 8 or 9 times just until you get smaller chunks. You don't want them like tiny pea-sized chunks. You want flattened bits, and I'll show you what that looks like right now. You see those bits in there? If you can see, that's perfect. Now add white vinegar, which will help tenderize the crust, and an egg, one beaten egg. This is revolutionary in this recipe. It really helps bind everything together. I've tried it without. It doesn't hold together quite as well. It becomes kind of crumbly. So pulse those two in, and then with the food processor running on low speed, stream in your ice water, just make sure you hold back the ice so that doesn't fall in there as well. And what you're looking for is for the mixture to come together on the sides and on top of the blade. And you can see that's happened here. You might notice that this looks a little wetter than you would normally be used to with gluten-filled baking. That's because the starch flours in gluten-free baking tend to absorb more water. So we need a little extra water when we're doing gluten-free baking. So if it seems a little wet to you, that's a good thing. Don't think that it's going to be tough because there's no gluten that gets overdeveloped, so you don't have to worry about that. And now I'm just portioning these out into 2 separate pieces of plastic wrap, and I'm going to put them in the fridge for about 30 minutes each. They'll last in the fridge for about 3 days, but 30 minutes is all they need if you want to get started right away on making your pie crust. You can also portion these out into 3 separate pie crusts. They'll just be a little smaller and a little thinner. What I like to do is start with 2, and then I end up with enough scraps to create a third one. So get everything ready, your rolling pin, your extra bench flour, and it's been 30 minutes. And we'll unwrap this and roll it out, and you'll see how simple it is to roll out. Flour your board. And what I always do at the beginning, I kind of go along the sides with my hands just to kind of smush everything together. And I start pressing down. It's not going to be super cold at this point, which is perfect. If you've left yours in the fridge for more than half an hour, you'll need to let it come a little bit more to room temperature before working with it, because it will be pretty hard to work with. And then just start rolling it out. Roll one way, move it, roll another way. Just continuously moving and flouring your surface if you need to. I roll just a couple of times before I put down my rolling pin and move. Otherwise, it will start sticking, and that's just the nature of pie crust in general. So once you have it to the size you want to get it, which I'm almost here now, right about now, I'm just going to patch that little bit up, and I will go ahead and roll it up onto my rolling pin and put it in my pie plate. How cute is my pie plate? And make sure you drape it into the middle and kind of press it into the middle, or you're going to end up with a shrunken pie crust. Now, to save time, I went ahead and already trimmed the edges with a sharp knife. And now I'm just scalloping the edges. It's just a simple way of making a design. You can do any kind of design you want. So go around the edges and do this. And when you're done, you're going to prick the bottom with a fork several times just to allow it so it doesn't puff up when it's baking. And we prick it with a fork, and then we're going to put it in the fridge for at least an hour, or even the freezer for 20 minutes, just so that the butter can have a chance to solidify before placing it in a hot oven. So go ahead and put it in the fridge for at least an hour, or freezer for 20 minutes. When you take it out, it'll be nice and firm, and you can line it with your parchment or foil if you don't have parchment. Fill it with your pie weights. I'm using beans because that's what I always have in my pantry. You can use rice, you can use store-bought pie weights. Beans are just so easy for me, but use what you have and get them right into all the crevices so you get a nice pie crust to the edges and room for plenty of filling. So bake this at 425 Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes. Take the beans out, bake for another 5 minutes until golden brown, flaky, and beautiful. And there's your gluten-free pie crust. Enjoy!